We're starting tonight with some really alarming intelligence that's just come out of Southeast Asia. This is a fast moving story, and it's all about organized crime, human trafficking, and really a desperate race against time. So, the first hint that something was seriously wrong didn't actually come from a government agency. No, it came from the social media app Telegram. This message popped up on a public channel, and it was the very first sign that a huge coordinated move was happening. And right away, you have to think, what about the victims caught in the middle of all this? And look, this wasn't just some baseless rumor. The post had pictures. You can see people loading up trucks with computer monitors and all sorts of other equipment. And it's happening in a complex known to be a base for these very criminal gangs. This was proof, hard, visual proof that something major was going down, and the threat was absolutely real. Okay, so let's get into the Sihanoukville threat itself, the center of this criminal enterprise targeting Koreans. To really grasp why this mass move is so serious, you first need to understand what Sihanoukville has become. For a while now, this city in Cambodia has been a notorious hotspot for criminal syndicates running some incredibly sophisticated and frankly ruthless operations. And we need to be crystal clear about the crime itself. These aren't random attacks. What's happening is that organized gangs are methodically targeting South Korean citizens, kidnapping them, and holding them against their will. They're forced to work in scam call centers. Just imagine, you're trapped thousands of miles from home with almost no hope of ever getting out. So that leads us to the big question here, right? Why are these groups suddenly packing up and running? I mean, they were pretty well established in Sihanoukville, so why the sudden rush to leave? What could possibly trigger a move this big and this risky? Well, intelligence points to a few things. First, the heat was getting turned up. There was a lot more media coverage coming out of Korea, really shining a spotlight on what they were doing. But then, there was something else, and this was huge. Sihanoukville was specifically named in a recent U.S. State Department report on human trafficking. You put those two things together, and it looks like the gangs got spooked. They probably figured a massive government crackdown was just around the corner, and they decided to get out before the hammer came down. All right, now we get to the part where this gets even more complicated. They're crossing the border. And this is where things get so much more dangerous. See, these gangs aren't just relocating down the road. The evidence is pointing to them trying to get out of Cambodia altogether. For investigators, and especially for the victims, this is a total nightmare scenario. So the obvious and most urgent question for law enforcement was, where are they headed? If they're leaving Cambodia, where on earth are they going? Finding that out is the crucial first step in what's becoming a much, much bigger and more complicated international chase. And the intelligence that's coming in suggests they're sticking close by, heading for neighboring countries. We're talking about places like Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam. These have all been flagged as potential new bases of operation. And it makes sense, right? They're close, and trying to operate across different countries creates a huge headache for law enforcement. You know, this move is a real game changer because it completely flips the script on the investigation. Think about it. When the gangs were just in Cambodia, you had one country, one police force to deal with. It was a centralized investigation. But now you're dealing with multiple countries, multiple legal systems. It's gone from a focused hunt in a known area to a sprawling, complex international pursuit where you don't even know where to begin to look. So what about the official response? Well, the Korean National Police Agency is mobilizing. Faced with this rapidly escalating crisis, South Korean authorities knew they had to move, and move fast. They've launched a major high-level response to try and track down these criminals, and of course, the number one priority is to rescue the victims. Their response really has two key parts. First, they sent in the big guns. The National Chief of Investigation, Park Sung-joo, was sent to the region immediately to take charge. And second, they're setting up what they call a Korean desk right there on the ground. The idea is to have a dedicated team to work directly with local police and hopefully make rescue operations run a lot smoother. But even with all this happening, it's truly a race against time. The stakes for the victims are just higher than they've ever been. Everyone involved knows that the clock is ticking. Every single hour that goes by, these criminal gangs get further away, they take their captives with them, and any chance of a rescue gets more and more dangerous. But there's another, more critical take on this that we have to hear. A civilian group, one that's been on the ground tracking these crimes for a while, is saying that the official response, well, it was just too late. They're convinced that a large number of these criminal groups had already packed up and left Cambodia before the authorities even mobilized. And that's really where we are now. This search has become this massive transnational challenge. What started out as a crisis in one country has ballooned into something much scarier. The hunt for these victims isn't just in one city anymore, it's not even in one country. It's now a huge operation that has to navigate multiple borders, different languages, and completely different legal systems. This whole situation forces us to ask a tough, urgent question, one that's becoming more relevant every day. When you have criminal organizations that can just operate without borders, using technology and logistics to stay one step ahead, how can our systems of justice ever hope to keep up? Can they possibly move fast enough?